You will take your Bibles and turn to 1 Thessalonians chapter 2. 1 Thessalonians chapter 2. We'll dismiss our grace kids at this time for the grace kids ministry. And the rest of us will turn to 1 Thessalonians chapter 2. This evening at 6 o'clock, I want to invite you and remind you we have a very special reception planned for our graduates. Michaela Clark will be graduating, Kevin Flowers, Jay Sean Hill, and Mary Arasto. Mary, the girls are here today. Because Mary's graduation is this afternoon at 2, but she'll be here with us tonight, this evening. And Michaela had hers a couple weeks ago, and the boys are having theirs at noon. So just pray that everything will go well with that. But we're going to have a great time tonight. I invite you to come back for that. One of the prayer requests I ask that you remember, and that's Miss Eva's mother. You pray for her. She's not doing very well, a lot of issues with her heart, but because of her age, there's not a lot of filling to do at this time. And so we ask that you pray for her, Eva for comfort, and her mother for healing. And so just pray the Lord uses it to pray and to bring strength in the situation. The world measures a man or woman's greatness by the number who serve them. Say that again. The world measures a man's greatness by the number of people who serve him. Heaven's yardstick measures a man by the number who are served by him. You see, that's what's different in the world in the way that we think, in the biblical way of looking at things, and that is that we look at how many people can we serve. A lot of times the discussion is who can minister, or who can lead, or who can be in charge. And we should, as Christians, we should be, if there's any argument, it should be who should serve, who should prefer others over themselves, who should work on behalf of someone else rather than the issue of who's going to be leading. The issue should be who's going to be serving. And it was Herschel Hobbs that made that statement, that the heaven's yardstick is how many, not by how many people who serve a man, but how many people are served by this man. We know, if we've read the Bible, that our place on this earth is to bring the gospel to others. That's why Jesus didn't just take us to heaven when we got saved. We have a specific purpose. That purpose is that we take the gospel to the whole world. And we're to demonstrate the gospel, to demonstrate the love of God, to demonstrate the good news by serving and ministering to others. Matthew chapter 20, verse 26 and 28 says this, "Yet it shall not be so among you, but whoever desires to become great among you, let him be your servant. And whoever desires to be first among you, let him be your slave, just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life a ransom for many." Let's pray. Father, thank you for your word, the truth that you give us today. I pray that you would just bless us with it, change our hearts, help us to understand things from your perspective and not ours, and use us in a mighty way. Prepare our hearts, Lord, as later we partake of the Lord's table. And that, Lord, that you be glorified in it. In Jesus' name. Amen. So there's no question that we are to minister. Jesus came to minister. Certainly that's our mission also. The question is, how are we to minister? What should be our framework for ministry? Well, you may even say, well, haven't you preached on this before? Haven't we discussed this before? Yes. We have, because the Bible deals with it a lot. And because personally I feel that if the Bible deals with it a lot, we probably should deal with it a lot too. And that is, how do we minister? In what manner are we to minister? Are we to minister in a way that makes us famous? Are we to serve so that we receive praise and prestige? How are we to minister? And that's what we want to talk about today. The ministry that God has given us. In 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, look at verse 5. He says, "For neither at any time did we use flattering words, as you know, nor a cloak of covetousness. God is witness. Nor did we seek glory from men, either from you or from others, when we might have made demands as apostles of Christ. But we were gentle among you, just as a nursing mother cherishes her children, so affectionately longing for you, so we're well pleased to impart to you not only the gospel of God, but also our own lives, because you have become dear to us. For you remember, brethren, our labor and toil, for laboring night and day, that we might not be a burden to any of you. We preach to you the gospel of God. You are witnesses, and God also, how devoutly and justly and blamelessly we behaved ourselves among you who believe. As you know, how we exhorted and comforted and charged every one of you as a father does his own children, that you would walk worthy of God, who calls you in to his own kingdom and glory." So the question is, how do we minister? In what manner? And what we want to start out is we will minister honestly. Our ministry should be in honesty. And we see that in verse 5. He says, "Neither at any time did we use flattering words, as you know, nor a cloak of covetousness. God is witness." So what he's saying is there are two things they didn't do and one thing they did do. First thing they didn't do is they didn't flatter. They didn't flatter the people. That's what a salesperson does. You know, when you go to buy something, part of the situation is that they want to break down any barriers or any walls, and they don't want you to feel nervous. And so what they do is they engage in a conversation in something like this. "That's a nice jacket you got. Well, I like that jacket. That is really nice. Love it. That's really great. Now, you know, hey, what can I do for you guys?" So it's kind of that situation of, bringing somebody in, kind of flattering them a little bit, making them feel good. But when it comes to ministry, and it comes to serving the Lord, Proverbs 29:5 says, "A man who flatters his neighbor spreads a net for his feet." In other words, if a person is in a situation where they are being flattered so much that it's all about them, their direction, their thoughts, their ideas, everything is directed to themselves, there's going to be a net. The Bible calls it a snare. In fact, Paul calls it the snare of Satan. And that doesn't mean that it's a snare that Satan set up necessarily, but it means a snare that Satan fell for. And if you remember the event in heaven, when he began to question his place in heaven, and Lucifer, this great archangel, this beautiful archangel, began to look at himself. And then he began to question, why am I second? Why can't I share top billing with God? And we know what happened there. The Lord took him and a third of the angels and threw them out of heaven. So we see that flattery, that type of flattery can hit someone that snare them to the point that it takes their heart and their mind off of the truth of who we're serving. Who we're serving is not just the person that we direct our ministry to, but we're serving the Lord. Ultimately, that is what our heart and mind ought to be set on. And when we begin to flatter people, or there's flattery involved, it gets their minds off of the Lord and it puts their minds on themselves. He also says in verse 5 that they didn't use a cloak, which is the idea of covetousness, which is we didn't use greed. We didn't attract you with the aesthetics. We just came because you had a spiritual need. See, we live in a day and a time where there are just certain things we look for, we like, they need to be nice. And some of those things are not bad. It's an issue of healthiness. Go into a church situation, you want a good nursery, you want nice sensible classes, there's nothing wrong with wanting that, but when that becomes the deal, then we've gotten our eyes off of something very important, and that's true ministry. Paul said, we came to you honestly. Honestly. One of the things, if you'll notice, if you spend any time looking at church websites, that a lot of them will describe their ministries pretty powerful. Now, I like to do that too. I mean, I like to say, hey, we got a great group of people, and this is a wonderful opportunity to hear the gospel, and all of that. But I remember there was a church a few years ago that had called me and desired for me to come and be their pastor. And one of the things they mentioned to me on the phone is they had this pristine, beautiful facility. Gorgeous facility. Now, really, I didn't care about the building so much. That wasn't the idea. But I came and we went out and we looked at the building, and it was not a pristine building. I was thinking it was going to be the Crystal Cathedral. It was not the Crystal Cathedral. But the idea was, by the way, this is a church, I know we shared this opportunity. This was in Arkansas. And we went down there, and they had puzzles that had been put together, glued, and put on the wall in the auditorium, in the building. And one of the things, it really was the only thing that they told me, that they said the only thing we would ask, if you came to be our pastor, is that you don't take the puzzles off the wall. Well, you know what my mind was thinking? Those would be probably better served in another place. And so, obviously, we didn't go there, but it wasn't the issue with the puzzles. The issue was where the priorities were. It wasn't about the building either. It wasn't about the puzzle. The issue was this. The issue was about the ministry. It's about people perishing, or people that are struggling, or people who need answers, knowing that the gospel has the answers. He says that God is with us. We did not come to flatter you. We came honestly to minister to you. My prayer is that our church would be an honest ministry, where people can come and say, this is what we're looking for. And we don't just tell them that that's what we are. But rather they would see a deep, strong ministry founded and grounded in the Word of God. Second thing is that we minister humbly. Look at verse 6. He says, nor do we seek glory from men, either from you or from others, when we might have had made demands as apostles of Christ. Now, one thing about Paul's ministry was that as an apostle, he was given special abilities, gifts, revelation. So that it wasn't just a matter of him opening the Bible and preaching, but he literally received revelation from God. Now, just as there are people who, because they have good talent and ability to teach and preach, they can get full of themselves. You can imagine the temptation of an apostle who is receiving revelation from God, that would be something that they would struggle with. And he said, we did not come to get glory from other people. Matter of fact, James 4:10 says, humble yourself in the sight of the Lord, and He shall lift you up. If you want to have the Lord working in your ministry, you want to be used, what you want to do is give your heart and life to the Lord. Let Him be your significance. Let Him be who you're founded in. Let His cross be what we're hidden in life. But two things, he says, no glory from me, and no demands from me. No glory. We don't want people, we're not doing what we do so that people will look at us and pat us on the back. Nor are we doing what we do that people will demand from us anything different than what God does. True ministry is honest. True ministry is humble. And thirdly, their ministry was helpful. It was helpful. Look at verse 7. It says, and we were gentle among you, just as a nursing mother cherishes her own children. That gentleness there, that idea of care is an idea of being sensitive, but being firm. When we take care of our children, particularly our babies, and particularly our grandbabies, we take very good care of them. We handle them very gently, but we're very firm that we don't drop them. Now, I don't know, I never worried as much with our own kids, but for some reason, I just know Titus is going to jump right out of my arms and around the floor. No, he's that slick. It's just going to happen. He's right there, he got very quick to sleep. So, but the reality is that you take care to meet their need, but you also take care to keep them secure. And he said the ministry here is that we want to be sensitive, affectionate, careful, but by the same token that we are strong with you. Galatians 6:1 gives this idea. He says, brothers, if a man is caught in any transgression, any sin, you who are spiritual should restore such a one in the spirit of meekness, watching yourselves, lest you also be tempted. This idea here of restoring is the idea of, it's like a surgical term. It's the idea of being firm, but sensitive and gentle. It's a surgical term. And it's something that what we have to do as followers of Christ, when it comes to each other and ministry to each other, we must have that same care. Paul said, I had that care. He said it was like a nursing mother. In other words, he was focused on the needs of those that had needs. Philippians 4:5, let your gentle spirit be known to all men. The Lord is near. The old King James said, let your moderation. And it's that idea of that meekness, that would be something that is manifested in our ministries. In other words, that the ministers would be the ones that are serving, and that the ministers are not the ones that are expecting people to serve. This is what Paul's saying. Fourthly, he ministered wholeheartedly. So should we. Verse 8, he says, so affectionately, longing for you, we were well pleased to impart to you not only the gospel of God, not only did we preach to you these truths, not only did we give you doctrine, he says, but also our own lives, because you have become dear to us. In other words, it wasn't just it was an affection ministry. It was a wholehearted ministry. There was a personalness to this ministry. It wasn't just, let me just share you this truth, and then you can go on your way. Or let me disciple you in going through this material. Rather, he said it wasn't just that. It was that. It was the gospel. Those were important things. Those were the things that he shared. But he said, but I didn't just give those to you. I gave you my whole life. My life. I invested my heart into you. Because you have become dear. One of the reasons, when we're in ministry and we do ministry, there are those of you that are very dear to our hearts. We do because we've spent time, we've talked, we know the needs, the heart, and the Lord just gives us that. But everybody matters in this church ministry because you all matter. God cares for you. When I first took the first ministry I was in, I was 29, just turning 30. And as I was pastor, I was in my first church as a pastor. And one of the conversations about me coming was that I would bring in a lot of the younger people. We don't have those conversations much anymore. I don't know why. I feel young, but those aren't the conversations on the table as much. Now the issue was because we were young that we would draw young people in. And there was sort of a tone that was like you would be the pastor to the young. And I remember in that conversation saying, wait a minute, I'm the pastor to everybody in this church. Because everyone in this church they're a member of this body. And everyone matters to God. Your needs matter to God. Whether they're spiritual, emotional, physical, whatever those needs, they matter to God. So what we do not do is simply hold back ministry from others so that we can minister to others. We desire to minister all. And we let the Lord use, through the Spirit of God, through our ministry, through our testimony, spirit of drawing people into this ministry. A desire for this ministry. A desire to grow the Word of God so that we can be what God would have us to be. And that is one that's done for the whole life. Then he not only ministered this way, but he ministered in by habit, habitually. Verse 9. Do you remember, brethren, our labor and our toil, for laboring night and day, that we might not be burdened to you, to any of you? We preach to you the gospel of God. In other words, day and night, there was a development of the attitude of obedience. In other words, there was no procrastination. We're going to do it now. If it needs to be done now, we're going to do it now. You see, procrastination is just simply, I think I mentioned this last week, it's delayed disobedience. But what we do when we minister by habit is that we minister out of our heart. We're already prepared. We've already developed the attitude of obedience. And we've allowed the new nature, the nature that the Holy Spirit gives us, to be the one in control. The one that empowers. The one that helps us. The one that strengthens us. The one that enables us to minister to other people. Now he says here that there was a lot of labor and toil. There is. There's a lot of joy also. Ministry should have joy, but it's going to be hard work. There's going to be some effort in it. There's going to be some change on your part to make so that God can use you. Because, that's part of what a potter does to a vessel. He changes it. He molds it. He makes it so that it can be used. And we need, all of us, need to be moved, changed, remade, so that God can use us. Somebody made the comment that ministry is 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration. Now today I would probably say 100% perspiration, but not 100%. But ministry is 10% inspiration, but it's a lot of work. There's a lot of work to it. But not work that comes from your own abilities, but it's work that comes through the Spirit of God. And that's what the next thing is. He ministered in a holy manner, in a holy way. Look at verse 10. He said, "You are witnesses, and God also, how devoutly and justly and blamelessly we behaved ourselves among you who believe." Three things there. He says devoutly, justly, blamelessly. We ministered devoutly. That word there is hosios, and it comes from the word holy, and it's the idea of sacred or reverent in attitude. Now, you have your Bible, and it has, some of you, it's Holy Bible. I used to use a Ryrie one day. I was going to use that illustration. I held it up. It didn't say Holy Bible at all. It just said Ryrie Study Bible. So anyway, this is Holy Bible. Now the word Bible seems to be the big word. It's actually the word holy. It's the big word. Years ago when I was a kid, I went with my dad to a hardware store or someplace. And they had guns and things, and there on the shelf it said the Shooter's Bible. Well, that was blasphemous. Because they put another name on the Bible. They took the name Bible and they put it on another book. It's not inerrant, not infallible, and I didn't realize that the word Bible means book. But when you put the word holy, if it would have said Holy Shooter's Bible, that would have been a different situation. That also may have a different connotation too. But no pun intended. But the idea is that the Bible is holy. It's separated. It's distinct. And that's what our ministry was, he said. It was sacred and it was reverent. There's got to be joy in our ministries. There's got to be joy. There's got to be happiness, and there's got to be a hope that we know that the Lord is in control, and because of that we're free. And there's going to be a happiness and joy to that. But there's also going to be a devout sacredness and a reverence to these things. He also said that they were to minister justly. It comes from the word dikaios, and it means fairly, or in a way that doesn't injure anyone or take anyone's rights from them. It's fair. It's just. And then it says blameless. That word amembetos means faultlessly. It means faultlessly. It means that you are without fault. Now, that doesn't mean that you're sinless, because that would be impossible. But what it means is that you've dealt with all of your business. Anything you've done that has been sinful, anything that you've done that has offended God, anything that you've done that has been some sort of iniquity that has has broken fellowship with you and God, that you have confessed it, that you've repented of that, you've taken all the right actions toward that, so that you can be in fellowship with God, and so that you can use it for other people. So they minister to hope. And then, hopeful, the last one, that our ministry would be hopeful. Look at verse 11. As you know how we exhorted and comforted and charged every one of you, as a father does his own children, that you would walk worthy of God, who calls you into his own kingdom and glory. If you will, just flip the page to 1 Thessalonians 5. Look at verse 14. He's talking about the ministry. What are the aspects of that ministry? Verse 14, he says, now we exhort you, brethren, warn those who are unruly, comfort the faint-hearted, uphold the weak, be patient with all. Let me read that again. We exhort you, brethren, warn those who are unruly, comfort the faint-hearted, uphold the weak, and be patient with all. It sounds a lot like our text here. In verse 11, that we exhorted and comforted and charged every one of you as a father does his own children. So there's an important aspect to this ministry. What do we do in ministry? There are different things we do. One person said that we are to comfort the afflicted, and we're to afflict the comfortable. I don't know if that's what we're supposed to do, but I know we are supposed to do this, and that is we are to bring comfort, but we are to bring admonishment. First of all, we must minister in a way that we want you to minister. My job is to minister to you in a way that I would want you to minister to other people. And those are areas where we need strength in this passage, in our text here, chapter 3, verse 11, we see that we are to exhort. That means to encourage. We're to comfort. And then we're to charge. Charge. That's the idea of commanding or commissioning. We're to charge people. In other words, we exhort them, encourage them. The Lord's strength is in you. With the Lord's help, you can do this. The Lord can enable you. Comfort is when they're in pain, that we can look to the Lord for strength and for power. And then the charge is that here's what the Lord would have you do. Now see, sometimes we want the comfort and we want the encouragement, but we don't want the charge. Can't do the charge. See, I'm too busy, or I'm too distracted, or I've got other things going on. I can't do the charge. What you charge me to do, what you've commissioned me to do, what you've called on me to do, I can't do it. The fact is, you can do it. The issue is that you won't. Now, in the text I read in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, here are 5 things. We're to encourage, we're to admonish, we're to comfort, we're to support, and we're to forbear. That means that we're to have patience with people in ministry. I found the people that I have the hardest time being patient with are just like me. They're the ones that have my personality or my abilities or my things. Those are the ones that, for whatever reason, I have the hardest time having patience with those people. But yet, I'm one who desires patience. Be patient with me. But what I need to do is to have that same forbearance with other people. And I need to be there to support, strengthen other people, walk with them when they need someone to walk with them, comfort them when they need someone to comfort them, admonish and warn them when they've done wrong, and then encourage them. By the way, the word for encourage comes from the word encourage, or to make enthusiastic. It's that same idea. And that word enthusiastic or enthusiasm means God in you. So for us to encourage, to put courage in someone to put theos, God, in someone, that is our comfort. That is our ministry. That comes through our witness. That comes through our testimony of our life. And that comes from not being inhibited by the ministry that God has given us. That we're strong in that ministry. And then we must live for the glory of God. so that others will live for the Lord. One of the things as a leader of a church, I can never lead you above where I am. In other words, in my spiritual life, if I'm not growing spiritually, you will not grow spiritually either. And you will grow at a certain level, and if I'm not growing, continually grow, I can't bring you to that level. I can never raise a person above my own level. That's why I need God to continue to strengthen me, and God to continue to lift me, and that I would live my life for the glory of God, so that you can live your life for the glory of God. If you will, look with me in Ephesians chapter 4. Ephesians chapter 4. Would you look at verse 1? He says, I therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech you to walk worthy of the calling with which you were called. What's he saying there? First of all, he says, I want you to live in the way that God has positioned you. God has put us in a place. He wants us to live out His intentions for us in that place. Many times we don't. We're happy enough to be positioned in Christ. I stand firm on His grace. He forgives me of my sins. I'm good with it. Where the Lord continually desires for us to grow, that we follow after as prisoners of the Lord. In other words, owned by Him. That we follow Him. We belong to Him. Our significance, our identity, everything is in Him. And that we walk worthy of what He's called us to. We can't do that on our own. We must be submitted to the Holy Spirit. We must be filled with the Holy Spirit of God. The goal of our lives is to be like Jesus. To be like Christ. In our attitude, our actions, in our heart, and in our ministry. Because of that, that means our ministry is to be like Jesus, which Jesus Himself said, I didn't come to be ministered unto. And we know Jesus deserved to be ministered to more than anyone. But yet He said, that's not the purpose I came. I came to minister. And that's what He's given us the opportunity to minister. Honestly, humbly, helpfully, wholeheartedly, habitually, holy, and hopeful. That in all of our ministries we will help to bring people to a place where they can grow. And that they can be all that God would have. As we seek the Lord for our will, pray that God would use us in the lives of others so that others can achieve His will for them. And that's all our desire is to do. We have 4 teens graduated. And we bought a little gift for them. One of the things I wrote in the gift was this, that we will pray that God will bless you as you find out and follow God's will for you. And what we want to do is and that's my prayer for every one of us, whether you're a graduate or not, is that you will find God's plan, follow His plan, and do everything for His glory, His honor. And when you achieve that, you are a success. You are a successful minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. What the world needs are believers who will minister like Jesus. Where Jesus said, the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. He was more concerned with the ministry of others than He was with His own personal things. And I realize we have responsibilities. And we need to take care of our families. And we need to do a number of things. But in all those things, the gospel comes first. People, their need for salvation is a vital necessity. Father, we thank You for Your word and the truth that You give us. Our prayer is, Lord, that we would minister in a way that is like Jesus. Paul said, Lord, we want to be like You. We want others to be like you. We want a church of people who follow you. So my prayer is, Father, that we will start with the person right here, our own hearts. Lord, that we would give ourselves in a way that is honest, humble, hopeful, holy, wholeheartedly, and all the things, Lord, that your word demands of us, that we would be attentive to that heart. Lord, I pray for those that might be here today who have never experienced salvation. They've never trusted Jesus Christ as their own Lord and Savior. I pray that you bless them. Draw them to you. Convict them of their sin, that they might be saved. And Lord, for those of us that are saved, Lord, this would be a chance and opportunity for us to get it right, to minister right, to think right, and that you might use us for your honor and for your glory. Father, bless this time of invitation.